Hi everyone, welcome to another session. In this session, we will discuss another important topic for the CISSP exam, vulnerability life cycle. So this diagram shows the vulnerability life cycle, which is a continuous process used in cybersecurity to manage and address system weaknesses. So let's do breakdown of each stage. Identification, first stage. So in this stage, vulnerabilities are discovered through automated tools, for example, vulnerability scanners. So we use vulnerability scanners, right? Manual testing, bug bounty programs. The goal is to detect known or emerging threats. So in this stage or in this phase, we try to identify the vulnerabilities or emerging threats. The second stage is analysis. So assess the severity and potential impact of the identified vulnerabilities. So the vulnerabilities which you have identified in the identification stage. So now you need to analyze them, the potential impact of those identified vulnerabilities, whether it is exploitable, affected system and components, risk level. So we need to also check about risk level, CVSS scores. We will discuss about the CVE and CVSS scoring system. So we need to do analyze whether that system could be exploited. So now the third stage is responses. So develop and apply mitigation actions, apply security patches or configuration changes, use workarounds or compensating controls. Response is prioritized based on risk analysis. So once you do a risk analysis, and in that stage you identify or you make a plan that how those risks uh, will be mitigated. So based on their risk level, right? And one more thing which I would like to highlight in this session. So we usually get uh, a vulnerability updates from vendor, and also we run vulnerability scans in our once we get update from the vendors, right, and then we run vulnerability scans in our infrastructure on our systems. So to come to know the vulnerability which is announced by the vendor, so whether we have our systems are vulnerable to that particular vulnerability or not. Okay, so this the fourth phase is validation. So after remediation, request the system to confirm the vulnerability is fixed. So sorry, retest the system. So we need to recheck it whether that system vulnerability is fixed. Validate that no issues were introduced. So we need to validate it after implementing or after fixing that vulnerability, the workarounds which are provided by the vendors. So after doing that, we need to do a validations. And the last stage is reporting. So document it. What was found, how it was handled, and residual risk, if any. So after implementing the configuration, after fixing that vulnerability, we need to check whether there is a residual risk, if any, after fixing it. So it helps in compliance, auditing, and future security planning, right? So these are vulnerability phases, the life cycle which we have discussed. And another thing which I have told you earlier in this session, that we will discuss the relationship between CVE this one, and CVSS. And the NVD. NVD. So these three points we will discuss. So CVE is common vulnerability and exposure, a public list of known vulnerabilities which are usually announced by the vendor, managed, and each entry includes unique CV ID, a short description, disclosure statement, and plus severity, how severe it is. It only catalogs vulnerability, not how serious they are, right? So most of time when you have your system from one particular vendor, so they announce those vulnerability on their website along with this CVE ID. So CVSS, common vulnerability scoring system. So this one. So here provides numerical score 0 to 10 to each CVE. So common vulnerability and exposure. So here CVSS, common vulnerability scoring system. So you provide numerical score to each CVE. It measures exploitability, impact, environmental factors, helps organization prioritize and remediation. So now the last is NVD. NVD is National Vulnerability Database, managed by NIST, synchronized with CVE list, add CVSS scores, detailed risk matrix, and additional metadata. So CV is what the vulnerability is, and CVSS how dangerous it is. NVD is where to find everything, including scores and risk details. So that is brief overview of vulnerability life cycle. So we need to understand all those stages. That is important, and also we need to understand the difference between CVE and CVSS and NVD. Thank you so much for watching this session. If you have any feedback or any question, please share in the feedback section.